story is called Hallows House, a ghost story, and this first part is called The Stranger. The names and places have been changed to protect the identities of those still alive and those who have passed on. So let's begin. A curious encounter at Halloween last year prompted us to do some research into our house and its history. This sparked a series of events that we still don't fully understand and sent us on a journey into the past, rediscovering people long dead and events long since forgotten about. The us that I refer to are myself and my daughter Rachel, and the story begins, as I have said, 1 year ago, on the afternoon of the 31st of October, All Hallows Eve, 3 days after we had moved into our new home in the northwestern coastal town of Monk's Ferry. The house at the bottom of Orchard Road was, as far as we could ascertain, about 146 years old. We only realised this when we discovered a curious handwritten mark scratched into the side of the slate front door step, which read H.H. 1873 E and J, and then another word we couldn't decipher. The writing was quite small, and you couldn't see it unless you were crouched down at the side of the step. My eagle-eyed daughter Rachel had spotted it while we were sitting on the step waiting for the removals van to deliver our belongings on the morning we moved in. We thought it was intriguing, but once the removals van arrived and everybody got busy, the little inscription was forgotten about, at least for the next couple of days. The nights were drawing in at this time of the year, and even though it was only 5 p.m, it was already quite dark. Rachel was upstairs in her new bedroom unpacking boxes. She had finished university a few months before and was working part-time in the local library, living at home until she could find her own place. She'd picked the largest of the 3 rooms at the back of the house, which overlooked the old kitchen and overgrown walled garden and yard. From her bedroom window you could also see the ancient spire and grounds of All Hallows Church, and to the right of that an old and crumbling manor house, which was mostly obscured from view by dense foliage. I sat watching the TV downstairs in the once grand living room with a cup of tea. There was a rerun of the Great British Bake Off on, and somebody was dripping icing over a delicious-looking Victoria sponge. My tummy began to rumble, and I was just beginning to wonder whether we had any cake in the kitchen cupboard, when a loud chiming sound came resonating out of the hallway and gave me a start. On investigation, it seemed that the sound had come from the old grandfather clock that sat in the large hallway. It had been left behind by previous occupants of the house, and I'd assumed it didn't work. At least it hadn't made any sound since we'd moved in. Rachel shouted down from upstairs, "If that was that old clock making that racket, it's got to go, Mom." It was pretty loud, I muttered to myself, and made my way up the wide creaking staircase to Rachel's room to see if she needed any help unpacking. sweets, not even any cake. She laughed and turned to me. "You've been watching Bake Off." I thought I heard the theme tune just before. "Yes, and now I'm starving," I smiled. "So, what do you want to do about the trick-or-treaters?" "Maybe we should turn off all the lights and pretend we're not in," she said, turning back again to stare out at the view beyond the stone garden wall. "Well, the house has been empty for about 18 months, so perhaps the locals won't bother us anyway," I said, hopefully. She agreed, staring intently out of the window. It was around 7:30 later that evening, and we were both sat together on the sofa in the front room, with the curtains tightly drawn and the lights off. The TV was on with the sound down low. There was an old rerun of the Antiques Roadshow, and it flickered quietly in the background. Rachel was curled up with her phone, engrossed in a WhatsApp conversation with university friends, and I was attempting, without much success, to finish the knitted cardigan I'd found at the bottom of a packing box. Thankfully, we hadn't had any Halloween callers up to that point, but we'd heard plenty of passing footsteps and chattering children's voices outside. Another hour went by, and it had started to rain quite heavily. "I can't see any more potential trick-or-treaters calling now, can you?" I said to Rachel. "Nah, not now. I'll put the lights back on," she said, reaching over and turning on the lamp. "You know, I can't quite believe we did this," she laughed. "I mean, sitting in the dark, trying to avoid a confrontation with little ghouls and ghosts because of our lack of sweeties and—" She was interrupted suddenly by a sharp rapping on the front door. We both jumped. "Oh, hell, spoke too soon," she said, and reached over again to turn off the lamp. "Rachel, that's not going to do any good," I laughed. "I think we're already found out." I got up to go to the front door with Rachel protesting behind me. "We haven't got anything to give them, Mum, remember? No sweeties, no cake," she shouted after me, and I smiled as I turned the brass handle and opened the large wooden front door. "I'm so sorry, but we don't have anything for you," I began, looking down the steps towards the expected and probably slightly wet children in their Halloween costumes. "Oh," I said, slightly taken aback, as a tall stranger stood before me. He cleared his throat and held out a damp, gloved hand. Surprised, I held out my own hand and shook his. It felt thin underneath the damp kid glove. He wore a dark overcoat, which was also wet with the rain, and a black felt top hat, speckled with raindrops, the brim of which had caused a dark shadow to obscure most of his face. I could, however, just make out a thin moustache and a small round metal glasses perched on the rim of his nose. Oddly, his old-fashioned dress didn't seem out of place on this cold, dark, rainy Halloween evening. I could sense Rachel's presence behind me as she put her hand on my shoulder and peered over me at the curious gentleman on our doorstep. He withdrew his hand from mine and cleared his throat again, bowing slightly. "Good evening," he said in a low voice. There was a hint of an accent, but I couldn't quite make out what it was. "The Messrs. Pike send their regards. They believe you are the new occupants of the house, and would like me to pass on to you this package." There he stopped and stared straight at Rachel. "Miss Pike, I had no idea. Please forgive me." He took a step back and lowered his gaze with a small bow. Rachel shifted at my side uncomfortably. "No, you're mistaken," I said, confused. "This is my daughter Rachel. We don't know anybody by the name of Pike. I think maybe you have the wrong house." He looked up again and shook his head. "I could have sworn," he said in confusion. "You are the image of my mistress. A trick of the light, perhaps, miss." "My name is Rachel," she said bluntly. "My mum just told you that. Who are you and what do you want? It's cold with the door open and we're getting wet." He ignored her protests and continued. My name is of no concern. I only wish to pass on my employer's regards and this small package. The Messrs. Pike beg your assistance. All you need is inside." He held out a large rectangular brown paper envelope tied with old string. Rachel took it from him, albeit hesitantly. He bowed again slightly, doffed his hat, and said quietly, "I shall wish you both a good night," turned slowly, and began to walk away down the garden path. "I'm sorry, what do you mean, our assistants?" I shouted after him. But my question was lost to the rain and darkness, and he was gone. "What the hell, Mum? These Amazon delivery drivers are getting weirder," joked Rachel as I closed the door quietly. We both looked at each other and then the package. "Who was he?" she said, turning the envelope over in her hands. "And what is this?" "And what did he call me? Miss Pike?" "Yes, Pike," I said. "I think he's definitely got the wrong address, though," I continued. "Probably best not to open that package. He may come back for it once he realises he's got the wrong house." Rachel agreed with a shrug and tossed the envelope on the hallway table. The evening passed without further event, and the following morning I had almost forgotten our strange Halloween encounter, until Rachel came down in her dressing gown, looking a little tired and dishevelled. "Morning," she said. "Any tea in the pot?" "Yes, it's a fresh brew," I answered. She sat down at the breakfast table and combed a hand through her tangled hair. "I had the oddest dream last night, Mum. Must have had something to do with that weird Victorian man coming to the door." "Victorian man?" I laughed. "You know what I mean," she smiled. I poured her some tea and she cupped her hands around the mug and took a sip. "Yeah, I think the dream also had something to do with the strange light I kept seeing out of my bedroom window last night." "Strange light," I said. "You didn't tell me about that." "Well, I didn't think anything of it at first. It was coming from the old house at the back, from one of the windows, and there seemed to be somebody there, in the house," she said. "I'm not sure that's even possible, Rach. It's empty. I'm pretty sure it's a ruin." "Yeah, I know. I think I was just a bit spooked. I dreamt that I was in the house, that house, but it wasn't me, I was somebody else. It's stupid, doesn't make any sense." She stood up suddenly and started making her way to the hallway. "I'm going to open that package," she said. "Rach, I thought we agreed last night that it probably wasn't for us," I shouted after her. "Too late," she shouted back mischievously, and returned in a moment with the envelope under her arm, pulling at the string that was wrapped tightly around it. The string came loose, and Rachel tore at the top of the envelope, reaching inside to remove the contents. "So," I exclaimed expectantly, "what's in it?" Well, there's some old papers and a key," she exclaimed, pulling out a large brass key from the packet and holding it aloft. She carelessly discarded the envelope with the rest of its contents on the breakfast table and examined the key, scrutinising it closely and testing the weight of it in her hand. It was about 4 inches long This is strange. The inscription is the same one on our front doorstep. H.H. 1873. E and J. This package must be for us, but there's more. It also says Pike. E and J. Pike. Pike, the name used by, I began. Yeah, exactly what the weird man said, Rachel cut in. Rachel, don't call him the weird man, I scolded. She rolled her eyes at me and continued to scrutinise the key. Is there any other writing on it? I asked. She turned the key over in her hands again and placed it back in the envelope. No, that's it, just the number and that bit of writing. I wonder if it fits something in the house. A secret door, perhaps, she exclaimed and gave me a wink. But what did he say? The Messrs. Pike wanted our help. Assistance was the word he used, I said. Yeah, assistance, same thing. Anyway, she said, glancing at the kitchen clock, I'd better go and get ready for work. Can't hang around here all day looking for secret doors. On second thoughts, she said, picking up the envelope, I'll take this stuff with me. I'll let you know what I find. Later that evening, I was sitting on the floor in one of the spare bedrooms, sorting through boxes, when I heard the front door open. Hi, Mum, Rachel shouted up the stairs. Where are you? I'm in the back bedroom, I shouted down, and in a moment she appeared with the old envelope clutched under her arm. All of this stuff, she said, sitting down next to me and handing me the package, relates to our house, this house, and the people that lived here, built it even. I've been looking up some of their names in the archives at work. It's all a bit strange. Strange, I questioned. Did you find out anything about the key? Still not sure what the connection with that is, what it fits, but it must have something to do with this house. Or next door, she said. Next door? I asked, confused. Yeah, Mum. Both our house and next door's house used to be connected. It was one house, one large house, and it had its own name. Let me show you. We had moved downstairs to the kitchen table, and Rachel had spread out the old papers in front of her. So, there's a floor plan of a house, this house, some old newspaper cuttings, some kind of official documents connected to the house or the land that it's built on, and of course the key, she said, picking up one of the musty pages and handing it to me. Right, I said, glancing at the handwritten script on the page. This doesn't feel like paper, it's got a different texture. Yeah, that's right, Rachel answered. My colleague Sue in archives says it's vellum. This document is something to do with the sale of land and a house. Can you read it? It's a bit difficult. I'll have a go, I said. Okay. It says something about the sale of a house called the Old Hall, and its lands here at Monk's Ferry. The owner, the seller of the property, is somebody called de Alderville, Radford de Alderville, Esquire. What a name! And the purchaser is Mr. Alpheus Pike, shipbuilder. Ah, Messrs. Pike, I exclaimed. Yep, Rachel answered. The surname the crazy man mentioned. Keep reading. So now he's the crazy man. Rachel, honestly, I said, and she gave me a grin. So the house and the land were sold to this man, Alpheus Pike, in 1850, and... Rachel waggled another piece of paper at me impatiently. Yeah, she said. So this other document shows that the Old Hall, as they call it, is actually the empty manor house at the back of our garden, the one next to the church, she said. The curious. But what's the connection with us and our house? And how on earth can we assist the people who have given us these documents? I'm guessing they must be relatives of the Pike family from long ago. That I don't know yet, said Rachel. But there's more, and it does get a little gruesome. I wanted to hit you with the tame stuff before I showed you the weirder stuff. Gruesome, I said. That sounds a bit worrying. Well, said Rachel, picking up one of the old newspaper clippings, let me tell you about the murder. And that ends the first part of my ghost story, Hallows House. Please join me again for the next part very soon. This has been Kate at the Library of Whispers. Happy Halloween.